There are stories the universe prefers not to tell. Legends whispered only when the lights dim and sensors sleep. Among them all, one remains carved into galactic memory like a scar on ancient metal: the day humanity stood alone. It wasn't a literal day, of course. It was years, bloody, terrible, impossible years. But for those who lived through that age, everything condensed into a single moment of choice: kneel or resist. Humanity chose fire. The Galactic Council convened for the final time aboard the Cathara orbital station, a silver ring circling a blue star in the far reaches of the Perseus arm. Representatives from 47 species filled the grand chamber, their forms ranging from sublime to incomprehensible. There were the Vexthari, crystalline beings who sang in frequencies that ached in the soul; the Draconi, majestic reptilians standing 3 meters tall; the ethereal Lumini, who barely maintained physical form; and there were the humans. Commander Alina Voss stood with her delegation, a woman of 53 years with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen 3 border wars. She wore the deep blue uniform of the Terran Defense Coalition, medals sparse on her chest. Humans didn't celebrate survival the way other species did. The chamber fell silent as Hegemon Thulkar materialized on the central platform. The Dominion's emissary was not what most expected of a conqueror. It appeared almost gentle, a being of flowing silver light, vaguely humanoid, speaking in voices that harmonized like a choir. "Children of the galaxy," it said, and the translation implants rendered its words in perfect synchronization. "The time has come to accept what you have always known. Resistance is not merely futile, it is irrational. The Dominion spans 10,000 worlds. Our fleets darken entire sectors. Our technology transcends your comprehension." A Vixthari representative chimed, crystalline body resonating with despair. "We have lost 37 colonies. Our armadas are dust. What choice remains?" "Submission brings peace," Thulkar continued, its voice soothing, almost paternal. "You will retain your cultures, your governments, your way of life. We ask only for allegiance, for order. The alternative—" It gestured, and the chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the void beyond. In the distance, a planet burned. Atmosphere stripped away, continents glowing like embers. A Draconi world punished for defiance. "The alternative is already written." One by one the species rose. The Vexthari first, their song one of mourning and acceptance. Then the Draconi, their ambassador's voice cracking with barely contained rage, but still yielding. The Lumini simply faded, their silence serving as assent. 46 species, 46 worlds bowing. Alina Voss remained seated. Thulkar's attention shifted to the human delegation like a spotlight. "And you, Terra, will you join the new order?" Alina stood slowly. Around her, her officers rose as well: Captain Marcus Webb, tactical genius with a prosthetic arm from the Outer Rim campaigns; Lieutenant Keiko Tanaka, young enough to have been born after humanity reached the stars; Admiral James Corvin, old enough to remember Earth before fusion drives. "No," Alina said simply. The word dropped into the chamber like a stone into still water. "No." Thulkar's voices lost their harmony for just a moment, surprise fragmenting the unified tone. "You heard me correctly," Alina replied. "Humanity declines your generous offer of enslavement dressed as peace. We will not submit. We will not kneel. And we sure as hell won't watch our species become another trophy in your collection." A Draconi ambassador, the same who had just surrendered, turned to her, desperation in his reptilian eyes. "Commander Voss, please, we have seen what they do to resistors. Your species numbers only 12 billion across 4 systems. They command trillions. This is suicide." "Then it's suicide with our spines intact," Marcus Webb interjected, his voice carrying the rasp of too many battles. Thulkar's form rippled, the silver light darkening to steel. "You misunderstand the nature of this moment, humans. This is not negotiation. This is mercy. Final mercy." Alina stepped forward, boots ringing on the crystalline floor. "You're the one who misunderstands. You've conquered species who forgot how to bleed for what they believe, who calculated surrender like an equation. We're different. Different how? We remember what it means to be afraid. Elena's smile was sharp as broken glass. And we've learned to do it anyway. Thulkar was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke, and for the first time something like genuine curiosity colored its voices. You realize you cannot win. Winning is irrelevant, Admiral Corvin said, his voice carrying decades of command. We will fight. We will make you pay for every system, every world, every kilometer of space. And when you finally stamp us out, if you finally stamp us out, the galaxy will remember. Remember what? Elena met the entity's gaze without flinching. That someone said no. The Dominion's response was swift. 3 weeks after the Cathara conference, their fleets arrived in the Proxima system, humanity's second oldest colony. 70 capital ships materialized from quantum-fold space, dreadnoughts the size of moons, their hulls inscribed with the languages of 1,000 conquered worlds. Against them, 12 Terran destroyers and the orbital defense platform Guardian-7. The battle lasted 6 hours. Commander Rachel Torres commanded the destroyer Valkyrie, a sleek predator of a ship bristling with rail cannons and missile batteries. When the Dominion fleet dropped into normal space, proximity alarms screaming, she felt ice crystallize in her veins. All ships, she transmitted on the fleet-wide channel. You know the drill, we don't have to win. We just have to make them bleed. The Dominion ships advanced in perfect formation, an inexorable wall of metal and energy. Their weapons charged with an ominous hum that registered on every sensor. Rachel didn't wait for them to fire first. Valkyrie, all batteries, concentrated fire on the lead dreadnought. Make them know we have teeth. The destroyer's rail cannons opened up, electromagnetically accelerated slugs crossing the void at relativistic speeds. They hammered into the dreadnought's shields, creating cascading ripples of dissipating energy. Other Terran ships followed suit, focusing fire, their combined assault actually causing the massive ship's shields to flicker. The Dominion returned fire. Beams of coherent energy sliced through vacuum, each shot carrying enough power to vaporize a small moon. The destroyer Achilles took a direct hit, shields collapsing, hull breaching in a dozen places. Its crew had 30 seconds to reach escape pods before the fusion core went critical, turning the ship into a brief, furious sun. But even as Achilles died, its captain, a man named David Chen, made one final choice. He aimed his dying ship at the nearest Dominion cruiser and punched the engines to maximum burn. The collision was spectacular. Both ships disappeared in an expanding sphere of plasma and debris. Jesus, Rachel whispered. Then, louder. You seeing this, Dominion? That's one of yours for one of ours. Not the ratio you're used to, is it? The Dominion fleet paused. Just for a moment, their advance halted, as if the collective intelligence guiding them was reassessing. Then they pressed forward with renewed fury. The battle became a desperate dance. Terran ships used every trick humanity had learned in centuries of warfare: false sensor ghosts, kamikaze drones, mining the space behind them as they retreated. They fought from behind the orbital platform, using its massive bulk as cover, its heavy plasma cannons adding withering fire to their own. But mathematics is inexorable. One by one, the Terran ships fell. Leonidas went down with all hands, her captain's last words a defiant roar. Hastings lasted longer, her crew evacuating before the ship's AI deliberately overloaded the reactor, taking 2 more Dominion vessels with it. Guardian-7 held out the longest, its superintendent AI, a construct named Athena, coordinating defense with inhuman precision. But even Athena couldn't stop the inevitable. When the platform's shields finally collapsed, the AI transmitted one final message before the station was torn apart. We gave you time. Use it well. Rachel Torres watched from Valkyrie, now the last ship standing, systems failing, crew down to half. The Dominion fleet surrounded her like wolves circling wounded prey. Commander, her tactical officer said quietly, escape pods are ready. Rachel looked at her crew. Young faces, old faces, humans who had followed her into certain death. Launch them all, get our people out. What about you? She smiled. I've got one more trick. After the pods launched, Rachel sat alone on the bridge of her dying ship. She opened a channel to the Dominion fleet, broadcasting in the clear. This is Commander Rachel Torres of the Terran destroyer Valkyrie. You won today, congratulations, but count your losses. 9 capital ships destroyed, 3 more crippled. For one minor colony's defense force. She paused. We have 300 more colonies, do the math. Then she aimed her ship at the largest dreadnought and engaged the engines. The Dominion's weapons tore Valkyrie apart before she could complete the ramming run, but Rachel Torres died knowing she'd made her point. The cost of conquering humanity would be measured in blood. The war that followed defied every strategic model, every algorithmic prediction the Dominion possessed. They expected humanity to fight defensively, to turtle up around their core worlds. Instead, Terran fleets struck deep into Dominion territory, hitting supply lines, logistics hubs, command stations. They lost more battles than they won, but they made every battle hurt. Admiral Elena Voss orchestrated the campaign from the moving headquarters of Task Force Defiance, a fleet that never stayed in one system longer than a week. She became a ghost, a rumor, a knife that struck from unexpected angles. We can't win by fighting fair, she told her senior staff during one planning session. So we won't fight fair. We'll be the guerrilla fighters of the stars. We'll make every cubic light-year of space contested territory. They adopted tactics that made other species recoil. Terran ships rigged with dead man switches that would detonate if boarded. Biological agents designed not to kill, but to force the Dominion to divert resources to quarantine. Quantum bombs that corrupted AI cores. Psychological warfare broadcast on every frequency, reminding the Dominion subject species that someone was still fighting. Captain Marcus Webb became legendary for his hit-and-run tactics. His squadron, the Reapers, specialized in impossible raids. They struck a Dominion fuel depot in the Carax system, destroying enough antimatter to power a fleet for a year. They hijacked a logistics convoy in the Veil Nebula, distributing its weapons to resistance cells across a dozen worlds. They even assaulted a Dominion prison station, liberating captives from 18 species, proving that humanity fought not just for themselves, but for the principle. We're not trying to beat them, Marcus explained to a rescued Vexthari who asked why humans continued fighting. We're trying to show the galaxy that the Dominion can be fought, that tyrants can bleed. The Dominion, for its part, escalated. They glassed 3 Terran colonies as examples. They hunted human ships with relentless precision. They offered bounties for human captives, rewards for information. They made examples of those who helped humanity, destroying species' homeworlds for providing supplies or shelter to Terran fleets. The galaxy watched in horror as the war consumed everything it touched. But something unexpected began to happen. It started small. A Draconite resistance cell attacked a Dominion garrison, using tactics they'd learned from intercepted Terran transmissions. A Vexthari colony refused to provide resources, their crystalline forms singing songs of defiance rather than compliance. A Lumini diplomat, thought safely controlled, self-destructed in the middle of a Dominion strategic conference, taking 12 senior commanders with him. The spark humanity had lit was spreading. Elena Voss first learned of it from an unlikely source. A Dominion communication laser tightly beamed to her flagship, requesting parley. Against all tactical wisdom, she accepted. The holographic projection resolved into Hegemon Thulkar, the same entity from the Cathara conference. But something had changed. The silver light that composed its form flickered, as if uncertain. Commander Voss, it said, voices less harmonized than before. Come to accept our surrender, Elena asked dryly. This war must end, you cannot win, surely you see that now. Elena leaned forward. We've been over this. Winning isn't the point. Then what is the point? For the first time, Thulkar's voices held something like genuine frustration. You have lost two-thirds of your fleet, half your colonies are ash, your military production is crippled, your people die by millions, for what? For the same reason we've always fought, Elena said quietly, because someone has to. Philosophy does not stop plasma cannons. No, but it keeps you awake at night, doesn't it? Elena studied the entity carefully. You've conquered 10,000 worlds, but now every one of them is watching us, watching humans stand against you. And they're starting to wonder, if these strange primates from a backwater world can resist, why can't we? Thulkar was silent. The Draconi are rebelling in 14 systems, Elena continued. The Vexthari are sabotaging your ships. Even the Lumini, who barely maintain physical form, are finding ways to fight. You thought you'd crushed resistance, but we reminded the galaxy how to clench a fist. You will all be destroyed, Thulkar said, but uncertainty colored its voices. Maybe, probably, but the fire's already burning. Kill us and it spreads. The more brutal you are, the more species will realize that submission is just slow death. We've shown them the alternative. Death is not an alternative. Elena smiled grimly. It's the only alternative that matters, freedom or death. Those aren't empty words to humanity. They're our choice. And now it's everyone else's choice too. The communication ended abruptly, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts. Commander Keiko Tanaka entered the bridge moments later. Admiral, the Dominion fleet is withdrawing from the Cygnus sector. Withdrawing? Yes, ma'am. Reports say they're redeploying to deal with uprisings in their core territories. The Draconi have declared open war. 3 other species have followed suit. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of it. How many? 40,000 Terran personnel confirmed dead this month. 108 ships lost. The colony on New Perth is evacuating under bombardment. And the Dominion, Keiko consulted her data pad. Estimates put their losses at twice ours. More importantly, they've lost control of 17 sectors. The Empire is fracturing. For the first time in 3 years, Elena Voss allowed herself a moment of hope. Not hope for survival, that ship had sailed long ago, but hope that the sacrifice meant something. Get me a channel to all Terran forces, she said. I want every captain, every soldier, every soul still fighting to hear this. When the channel opened, connecting to the scattered remnants of humanity's fleet, Elena spoke from the heart. To all personnel of the Terran Defense Coalition. You've fought for 3 years against impossible odds. You've buried friends, watched worlds burn, and stood firm when every rational calculation said to run. I won't lie and say victory is close. I won't pretend the cost hasn't been devastating. But look around. Look at what we've done. The galaxy that bowed before the Dominion is standing up. Species that forgot how to fight are remembering. The empire that seemed invincible is bleeding from 1,000 cuts. We didn't do this alone, but we did this first. When everyone else knelt, we stood. When everyone else surrendered, we fought. And now the galaxy remembers what freedom costs, and that it's worth the price. Keep fighting, keep standing, not because we'll necessarily win, but because some things are worth dying for. And if we have to burn to light the way for others, then we'll be the brightest damn fire the galaxy has ever seen. The response came not in words but in actions. Across human-controlled space, battered ships powered weapons that should have failed hours ago. Exhausted soldiers stood for another watch. Engineers coaxed miracles from damaged systems. Humanity stood alone no longer, but they stood tallest. The war's turning point came at the Battle of Terra itself. The Dominion committed everything to one final, overwhelming strike at humanity's homeworld. 3,000 ships, the largest armada ever assembled, dropped out of quantum-fold space at the edge of the Sol system. Their intent was clear: erase humanity from existence and break the spirit of the rebellion spreading across the galaxy. Earth had seen this coming. Every defense platform, every ship that could fly, every weapon humanity possessed converged on their homeworld. The Terran fleet numbered 400 ships, all that remained of their once mighty navy. The mathematics were brutal. 7-to-1 odds. In any rational assessment, Earth would fall within hours. But as Admiral Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the tactical display showing thousands of red icons bearing down on the blue marble of home, she felt something unexpected. Peace. All ships, she transmitted. This is it. Everything we've fought for comes down to this moment. Behind us is Earth, our home. The world that gave birth to our species, our dreams, our determination to be free. If we fail, humanity ends. But if we fail fighting, we still win. Because the galaxy will remember that we made them fight for every meter of space. Today, we don't fight to win. We fight to show the universe what humans are made of. We fight to prove that some things can't be conquered: dignity, courage, the refusal to kneel. Let's give them a battle they'll never forget. The Dominion fleet advanced, shields shimmering, weapons charging for the killing blow. The Terran fleet accelerated to meet them. What followed was less a battle than a cataclysm. The void between Earth and Mars became a hellscape of energy discharges, kinetic impacts, and dying ships. Terran vessels threw themselves at Dominion dreadnoughts like wolves attacking a bear, individually futile, collectively devastating. The Thermopylae, commanded by Captain James Rourke, rammed a Dominion carrier, both ships annihilating each other in a fusion blast visible from Earth's surface. The Alamo held off an entire squadron for 20 minutes before its reactor went critical, the captain's last words. "Remember us." The Warsaw stayed in the fight even after losing half its hull, its crew fighting from exposed compartments, vacuum suits keeping them alive just long enough to fire one more salvo. Elena's Indomitable fought at the center of the maelstrom, coordinating defense, distributing targeting data, keeping the fleet fighting as a coherent whole even as it was torn apart. Around her, the bridge crew worked with desperate efficiency, sweat and determination keeping them at their posts despite alarms blaring and systems failing. "Admiral," Keiko Tanaka called from tactical, "the Dominion is committing their reserve. They're going for Earth directly." Elena watched as hundreds of ships broke from the main battle, accelerating toward the planet. Earth's orbital defenses, ancient space stations and weapon platforms, opened fire, creating a web of destruction. But there were too many. The Dominion ships began to penetrate, their bombardment weapons charging. "All remaining ships," Elena ordered, "intercept course. We stopped them here." What remained of the Terran fleet, less than 50 ships now, turned to face the new threat. They positioned themselves between the Dominion and Earth, a thin shield of metal and determination. That's when something impossible happened. Quantum fold signatures erupted across the system, hundreds of them. Ships dropped into normal space, transponders broadcasting identifications Elena thought she'd never see again. Draconii warships, their hulls painted with human insignias. Vexthari crystal ships singing songs of battle. Even Lumini vessels, their energy beings somehow piloting craft of pure light. And more. Species Elena didn't recognize. Races from across the galaxy, some from the Dominion's own conquered territories. A communication channel opened. A Draconii voice, deep and resonant. "Terra, you stood alone when we could not. You fought when we surrendered. Now if you'll have us, we stand with you." Elena's vision blurred. "You'll be destroyed. The Dominion will." "Let them try," a Vexthari chimed in, their crystalline voice clear. "You taught the galaxy to resist. Now let us show you we learned the lesson." The combined fleet, human and alien, the strangest alliance in galactic history, crashed into the Dominion forces like a hammer. The battle's momentum shifted. Where before the Terran fleet fought alone against overwhelming numbers, now the Dominion faced a united front. Species they'd conquered, races they'd subjugated, all fighting alongside the humans who had inspired their rebellion. Thulkar's voice boomed across every frequency, distorted with rage. "This changes nothing. You prolong the inevitable." Elena Voss responded, her voice carrying across the system. "It changes everything. You conquered the galaxy by making us forget we could fight. We reminded them. Now face the consequences." The battle raged for 18 more hours. Ships died on both sides, the void becoming a graveyard of metal and dreams. But slowly, inexorably, the Dominion fleet began to withdraw. Not destroyed, they still outnumbered the defenders, but broken. Their will to fight, their certainty of victory, shattered against the unexpected resistance. As the last Dominion ships folded back into quantum space, limping away from a system they'd been certain they would conquer, Elena Voss stood alone on the Indomitable's bridge, looking at Earth through the viewport. The planet still stood, scarred, damaged, but alive. Humanity still stood. The war didn't end immediately. Dominion forces still held thousands of worlds, their fleets still numbered in the thousands. But the myth of their invincibility was broken. Across the galaxy, species rose in rebellion. The empire that had seemed eternal began to crumble. Humanity's fleet, reduced to fewer than 100 operational ships, never stopped fighting. They became the symbol, the inspiration, the proof that tyranny could be resisted. Elena Voss survived the war, though she never truly left it. She lived another 30 years, watching humanity rebuild, seeing the galaxy transform from a Dominion empire to a loose confederation of free worlds. She attended ceremonies, gave speeches, accepted honors from a dozen species. But privately, in the quiet moments, she remembered the names. The ships that didn't come home, the colonies that burned, the millions who died so that billions could live free. On her deathbed, surrounded by younger officers who had never known the war, she was asked if the sacrifice had been worth it. "Every single death," she said quietly. "Every ship, every world. Worth it, because we proved something the galaxy had forgotten. That freedom isn't given. It's taken, it's fought for, it's bled for. And humanity, when everything else is stripped away, would rather die on our feet than live on our knees." Those were her last words. 1,000 years after the war, in a galaxy reshaped by the conflict, students across 10,000 worlds study the same history lesson. The details vary by species, by culture, by translation. But the core story remains. When the Dominion came, 47 species surrendered. Only one refused: Terra, Earth, humanity. They stood alone against an empire. They fought when victory was impossible. They bled to prove a point that the galaxy had forgotten. And in the end, they won. Not because they were stronger or smarter or more advanced. They won because they remembered something fundamental, that there are things worth dying for. In the halls of the Galactic Senate, a body that exists only because humans refuse to let freedom die, there stands a monument. A simple obelisk of gray stone from Earth, inscribed in 100 languages. The inscription is the same in each. "We do not kneel." Below it, in smaller text, "In memory of those who stood when standing was suicide, in honor of those who fought when fighting was futile, in celebration of those who chose death over submission. Humanity stood alone, that the galaxy might stand together." School children visit the monument. Diplomats pause before it. Veterans of a dozen species lay offerings at its base. And in the quiet moments, when the halls are empty and the stars shine through the transparent dome overhead, you can almost hear the echo of those ancient transmissions. "This is Commander Rachel Torres of the Terran destroyer Valkyrie. We don't have to win, we just have to make them bleed. Remember us. We do not kneel. The stars are silent now. Not because humanity is gone. 12 billion have grown to 12 trillion, spread across 1,000 worlds. But because the galaxy learned the lesson humans taught. Some prices are worth paying. Some stands must be taken. Some words can never be unsaid. The day humanity stood alone became the day the galaxy remembered how to stand together. And that made all the difference.